Have you ever wondered what goes through your dog's mind when you're trying to teach him a new trick? Well, today, let's find out. Let's investigate life as a dog as we explore. Today on Explore, we look at life from a dog's point of view, and we ask ourselves the question, how can we better understand our own senses by comparing them to how a dog views the world? We're looking forward to that investigation and, of course, to your participation in it. We've got kids joining us from across the country via video conference and the internet, and we welcome your participation by sending us your email questions as well. Don't forget, you can email us at live@hectv.org. That's live@hectv.org. They'll come straight here to my cell phone, and I look forward to incorporating them into the program. So what is life as a dog like? Well, let's begin talking about that by talking about the beginnings of dogs. Let's go back in time and find out when actually dogs began. Believe it or not, all dogs can trace their ancestry back 40 million years to one specific animal that was called a meokiss. It lived in trees and dens. So a long, long time ago, dogs began. And then, somewhere between 18,000 and 30,000 BCE, the Europeans began to domesticate dogs for work purposes, not just to pet around the campfire. We have our first examples of cave paintings with dog images from 12,000 BCE. They were found in a cave in Spain. And the Egyptians began looking at painting hieroglyphics of dogs about, 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. And then, of course, fast forward very quickly to 1884 when the American Kennel Club was founded. And that Kennel Club's very important because they, of course, are vital to maintaining breed standards and all sorts of things in regard to dogs today. So we're going to be interested in all that kind of information as we explore today's question, life as a dog. So we first of all, of course, need to meet our first guest. So to do that, we're going to talk to Dr. Ed Magniecko from Hillside Animal Hospital. But before we get there, I want to give you a little bit of information about a dog's intelligence level. So let's go to Sophie's video, which gives us some general idea about how a dog thinks.
Dogs are capable of understanding up to 250 words and gestures, can count up to 5, and can perform simple mathematical calculations. The average dog is as intelligent as a 2-year-old child.
Thanks very much, Sophie. Dr. Ed has joined me now from Hillside Animal Hospital. Dr. Ed, thanks very much for being here.
Well, thanks, Tim. Thanks for inviting me.
Sophie gave us just a little bit of information there on a dog's intelligence level. What can you add to that? What do we know about dogs' intelligence level and their trainability?
I think dogs are very, very intelligent. Of course, I think there are some breed differences. I think I see that as a veterinarian. I think that some dogs are smarter than others. But I've seen dogs trained to do some amazing things, and I think that they are very, very trainable.
And speaking of trainable, we've got another story put together by our compatriots here at Ladue High School, which interviews a dog trainer to get a sense of what it is like to do that kind of activity.
I work for Happy Tails, but I own my own business called Dog Wisdom. I train dogs from start to finish. I help keep dogs from biting their kids, biting the couches, keep them from peeing on the floor, making them think, work, do basic commands, sits, down, stays, that sort of thing. We can start training on 10-week-old pups. We typically won't bring them in here until about 12 weeks just because of the size and the overwhelm for a puppy. I teach all your basic obedience commands. I teach sit, down, stay, a loose leash walk to where they're walking at your side without pulling you down the street. I train a recall, which is the word come, so the dog comes to you when called. And I also train a targeting command, which is I tell a dog to chill, they stay in their dog bed until I say the word free. Those are all the commands that I would use to stop bad behaviors as well. Each and every day, we send the owners home with homework. So we'll give them go-home instructions, show them what we've done throughout the day, and then hand him the instructions and show them the demo, and then have them do it in the evening to continue the training. After they finish a 3-week program, they come every day for a week. They do every week for 3, and after 3 weeks, they graduate. Dog training's fun. It's exciting. I get to make sure these dogs go home to good environments. The more you train for short periods, the better success you get.
And of course, what would be a show about life as a dog without a dog? So we've been joined by Radar, who's just about 5 years old, a terrier mix that we adopted about 1.5 years ago from Stray Rescue, a fantastic organization here in St. Louis. Dr. Ed, in terms of trainability and intelligence level, are certain breeds more intelligent than others? Have we done anything research-wise about that which indicates that?
I think, off the top of my head, I think one of the most intelligent breeds is the Border Collie, okay? Think about the work that they do, you know, herding the sheep with nothing but a series of hand gestures or whistles. They've always been known as one of the most intelligent breeds.
Now, Radar, do you think you can give us a little bit of training example to see what you can do? Okay. Want to jump? Leap? Oh, come on. Want to get it? There's my good boy. Well done, well done. Come here. Oh, gotta chew it. That's a sweet potato chip. He loves his sweet potato chips. Gives you some idea about good health being part of their diet as well. Radar, here, good boy. Come back. Oh my goodness, yes, sit. Lay. Oh, well, that's what we're talking about. So it's a combination of what? The sound of my voice and the gesture, because obviously he's not really understanding the word lay.
Yeah, and the repeatability too. And the reward, obviously the positive reinforcement. He knows that if he does what you are asking him to do, he'll get rewarded.
Well, let's go to some student questions that we've gotten via email into our interactive group, some basic questions that they've got for Radar. And Radar, do you mind if I would put a microphone in your face? Can you give us some answers? Okay. Let's go to our first question, Radar, which is targeted directly to you that we've gotten. And this question is, where do you like to go on your walks, Radar? And how long are your travels when you go on your walks?
Oh, well, I live downtown St. Louis, so I go around Washington Avenue, City Garden, lots of places. It's a lot of fun things to do.
Now, am I correct, Radar, that your favorite place to travel is actually City Garden?
Oh, City Garden, I love that place. There's a lot of rabbits there. Those are my favorite pets.
Yes, we understand that you're really a big lover of rabbits. And so here's an example of a big rabbit sculpture that's part of the sculptures at City Garden that Radar certainly enjoys spending some time with. Now, Radar, Cassandra wanted to know, where did you live before you were rescued and adopted? What was your life like before then? Can you tell us?
Well, not too much to know. I was found by a cop, Officer Gaddis, and he took me to Stray Rescue.
Oh, very good. Well, Radar, we're really glad, of course, that you decided to adopt us when we went to Stray Rescue. Let's go to our interactive video conference schools to see if they've got a question now.
Yeah, how long did it take you to go through college?
Oh, veterinarian question. I don't think they're talking to Radar there, Dr. Ed. I think that one's for you.
Radar, how long is obedience school? I did 4 years of undergraduate degree. I have a degree in a Bachelor of Arts in Biology, and then veterinary school after that is 4 years. So a total of 8 years of college.
Very good. Well, we'll get to more questions throughout the program, but let's begin, Radar, to talk a little bit about your different senses, because our goal here today is to give you the idea of the world from a dog's point of view. So let's start by talking about your sense of sight. Now, there's kind of a misnomer that people think dogs only see in black and white.
That's correct, but I mean, that's correct about the misnomer. We actually now know that dogs see in shades of blue and yellow.
And we've got a video that'll give you a little bit more explanation of exactly how dogs do see. Let's look at that now.
Have you ever wondered how dogs see the world? Well, let's take a look. Dogs see colors a little differently than us. They are unable to recognize green, yellow, orange, and red. They use other cues like smell, texture, brightness, and position, rather than relying solely on color. Because dogs have fewer cones in their eyes compared to humans, their perception of color isn't as vivid as ours. To put it simply, dogs can see in color, only that the colors that our four-legged friends see are not as rich as what you and I usually see.
And you notice there at the end of Marissa's video, you see a little loss of color and some change of colors in terms of the sky, looking a bit more blue and a bit more yellow. And we've got some images we want to show you, too, of seeing certain things in St. Louis from Radar's point of view. As we mentioned, he lives downtown, so he really likes to walk in all sorts of places downtown. And here we've got an example of him walking toward the arch in St. Louis, and you see it, the cone of a sight that you see from Radar as he would see it in the loss of color that exists. And we can then switch to that and you see what it looks like in the regular vision. And we've got some other pictures that can show you the same thing as we just go from image to image here. There he is back in City Garden again, and once again you see what it looks like from his point of view versus just the rest of ours point of view. That kind of thing looks really cool. He's a big investigator. He's a pretty curious guy. So again, there you see where he's looking, but of course it's regular green grass. And last but not least, Radar, of course, is an art lover. So here he is at Lohmeyer Sculpture Park in St. Louis County, and you get an example of the differences between what he'd see and what we see. So there you get some sense of sight differences, but dogs are also, they see things a little bit more blurry. Like, for example, am I right, Dr. Ed, that he's better off if I'm waving at him than opposed to standing still? Motion makes a difference?
Yes, yes. A lot of their sight is based on motion. If you think about a person, human, you know, perfect vision being 20/20, we know dogs are about 20/75, so not quite. Their vision is based on motion. They can't see things as up close as we can, probably not as far a distance as we can either, but in that middle range is where that vision is.
Well, and you mentioned distance, and believe it or not, under the right conditions, a human eye can see the light of a candle 14 miles away.
Correct.
You, Radar, would not be able to do that. But of course, you can see at night in a way that I can't, correct?
Yes. Think about when you're driving around at night and you see the reflection of a wild animal, and you know, in your headlights. That's called a tapetum, and what that is a function of their eye that actually focuses any available light onto their optic lens. That's why wild animals have better night vision than we do.
Oh, wow. You have better night vision, Radar. And you're doing a nice job of relaxing and moving around for us because we want to talk about sense of touch next. So let's just talk about your paws. Thanks so much for letting me have it. So do they have a sense of touch very similar to ours for the most part? Nerve endings all over the place?
They do. They do have nerve endings. I don't think, you know, for the fine motor skills, of course, that humans do, I don't think, you know, in their feet they may be as quite sensitive as us. But sense of touch that we don't tend to think about in dogs is their whiskers.
Oh.
That's involved with their sense of touch. There are special nerve endings associated with the whiskers. Again, think about at night with low vision, low light. They can actually feel their way around.
Oh, yes, that's true. I hadn't even thought about that, Radar, but that's very cool. And does it work the same way as cats? They don't go into a space that's their whiskers
Yes.
can't touch?
Yeah.
Oh, check it out, my man. Cool. So let's move then from sense of touch and talk about these ears.
Yes.
And of course, one of the questions that we got in advance of the program that was specifically for Radar was about your name and why you were called Radar. So let's find that out. Radar, can I ask you, who named you and why?
Well, the family I adopted saw my ears when they first came to see me at Stray Rescue, and they said he got radar ears. That's my name, Radar.
And interestingly enough, Dr. Ed, there's like 12 to 18 muscles. Their ears are able to do all sorts of things, even act independently.
Oh, yeah. You think about it. I mean, how their ears stand, and they can erect their ears, and they can direct them at wherever they're locating, helps them localize where the sounds are coming from.
And of course, they hear at a different frequency, correct?
Yeah, slightly higher frequency than we do.
And they can hear a much further distance than we can.
Yeah, that is correct, too. Much farther distance than we can.
And is that one of the reasons that perhaps they understand a storm is approaching? Is because they hear the rumble of thunder before we would?
That's definitely one of the theories, that they can hear it coming farther off. Another theory about storms is that they can detect the difference in the barometric pressure. And actually, the ionic charge in the air. You know, that's sometimes what lightning causes.
Wow.
That's when sometimes some dogs who are afraid of storms will actually seek out and go to the bathtub. The bathtub is grounded. Who knows what, you know, we don't know if that's really the case, but it makes sense.
It does make sense. And Austin, from right here at Ladue, is going to give us some more information about dogs and their reactions to oncoming storms.
Thunder might sound loud to us, but dogs' hearing is 20 times more sensitive than humans. We talked to several dogs to find out more.
Thunder is so loud, I don't think humans know. We hear the storm coming long before people do, and when it arrives, it is so much louder to us.
But it's not just thunder that bothers dogs. Dogs can sense a drop in air pressure, which signals oncoming bad weather.
It's
sunny now, but I can feel a big storm coming our way. Get inside, everybody!
So next time your dog starts barking and acting strangely, check the weather. A storm might be on its way.
And Radar, I think, does indeed have a sense of storms. He was a little bit nervous about it. So we've got that kind of shirt that you wrap around him, which gives him a chance to relax during a storm, just like he's doing now. One of the things we have noticed in regard to Radar is sometimes the pitch level of the sound makes a great deal of difference. He usually will react quite interestingly to a harmonica being played. So let's see what happens. Oh. And sure enough, he goes directly to the sound of the harmonica. So you get some sense of how that works. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Radar. Thank you. Well, Radar, we'll give you a chance to relax off camera for a little bit while Dr. Ed and I switch again and move off of hearing and begin to talk about their sense of taste. And you may have noticed Radar's not a normal barker in any way, shape, or form, but anytime he hears that high-pitched sound on harmonica, he desperately feels the need to bark and or sing along. We like to think of it as singing along rather than just barking. Let's talk a little bit about taste, and as we talk about taste, we can bring up an image of Radar at the buffet line at one of the local pet stores. One of the questions that we got in advance from our student groups is about their ability to taste sweet and sour and that kinds of things. What do we know about dogs' taste buds?
Well, we do know that they have fewer taste buds than we do, okay, which is important. They may not taste exactly in the same range as we do, but cats even have less than dogs do. A lot of the dog food manufacturers and all the marketing that goes into it has a lot to do with the texture of food. Texture and how the food feels in their mouth is probably more important, if not as important as the taste is.
Well, we can give some specific examples of that comparison that you mentioned in the video we've got right here from Sophie about a dog's sense of taste.
Dogs have about 1,700 taste buds. Humans have approximately 9,000, and cats have around 473.
Might be very interesting, both in terms of taste and smell, is that there's been a lot of research done lately about dogs actually being able to detect cancer.
That's true. That's great, yes.
We've got a great story that we've had put together here by students at Ladue High School talking about dogs and their ability to detect cancer. So let's learn a little bit more about that now.
Dogs are a man's best friend, but they are also much more. Through training, dogs can also save a man's life.
In 2003, my mom was going through her battle with breast cancer and chemo, and then I was called by these doctors in Northern California to see if, in fact, we could train dogs to distinguish between healthy and cancer patients. We only have 5 million scent receptors, and the dog has 300 million. And the size of the brain that's designated to scent in the dog is 40 times larger. And usually when a dog runs up to something, it's not because he saw it, it's because he smelled it. If there was one rotten apple in 1 million barrels, he could go right to the barrel.
Through their incredible noses, this is how dogs successfully detect cancer, with training lasting only 8 weeks.
First, it's really important that you select proper dogs, and that has to do with their drive, their temperament, their willingness to work. And the second tier of training is understanding reinforcement and how we're going to train them. There's probably some inflammation. There could be necrotic tissues, swelling. Dogs can smell all those things. And then over time, they get very specific on being able to just find the combination of cancer. It took us 3 years to publish the study, and the results of that study were they were 99% sensitive in the early detection of cancer and 88% specific.
And while Radar hasn't been trained specifically to detect cancer cells, there are certain smells he likes a lot. And one of them is peanut butter, and this is a peanut butter dental treat that he's got here, which he's happily going to follow around and down. That's a good boy, lay right there. As we talk about your sense of smell, your olfactory sense, your sense of smell. And this is what really makes the difference for a dog.
Absolutely. It's so much magnified compared to ours. No offense, Radar, their brain may be 1/10 the size of ours, but the part that controls the olfactory sense, is like 40 times larger than the humans.
So you have a huge part of your body, part of your brain that wants to sense smell, and I can tell it every time we go for a walk. My gosh, if there's a smell that he's interested in, he wants to go and deal with that smell for sure. Let's find out what you guys want to deal with your questions today. I'll go to my phone in a minute, but let's go back to Cornersville Elementary School in Cornersville, Tennessee. Cornersville, do you guys have another question for us?
Yes. I saw on TV where a dog went into a surgery with a girl to see if she was okay. He was on her bed during surgery. Why?
That's a great question. Dr. Ed, talk about that.
Well, I would consider that like a therapy dog, and dogs are being trained to just to calm the fears. I mean, it's been shown petting a dog lowers your blood pressure. Especially a child. If you have a child who is going to go under surgery like that, they're going to be anxious, they're going to be nervous, they're going to calm the dogs. I just recently read an article. They have a dog now trained who sits with children who are testifying in court.
Oh, wow.
They sit in the witness box underneath the table, and nobody can see them, but the child can be petting the dog while they're testifying. It calms them down.
Very cool. Great question, Cornersville. Let's go back to you guys again. Another question from Cornersville?
My dog is waiting for me when I get off the bus. How does he know what time it is?
I think that is a great question.
It's just repetitive behavior. I mean, he may not know exactly what time it is, but he knows. He's going to get that reward of greeting you and being happy. That's positive reinforcement. He doesn't know exactly what time it is, but he knows he knows to expect when to expect you.
So they have no real sense of time. Like if I were to leave the house for 2 hours versus 2 days, he doesn't really get a sense of that at all.
No sense of time.
Okay. We've got some questions that came from our friends down in Texas asking about how radar reacts to the snow. And we've got some radar and snow video. We luckily had a really lovely snow experience just a week or so ago where it was really cold. And so he had to wear both his parka and his regular winter coat because it was down to like -5. And he's not a big person, big dog, I guess I should say, on getting wet. But playing in the snow is always kind of fun for him in that regard. We had a couple of other questions that dealt with his investigatory skills because kids noticed in the PowerPoint that they got in advance of the program how curious he was. And this goes along with his sense of smell for sure. He's totally relaxed now, but you'll notice you can probably see his whiskers a little bit there as we get a close-up of his nose. But we wanted to give you some video of Radar on the prowl, and then we'll let you look at some video of Radar actually seeing a rabbit, because goodness knows he likes rabbits. So here he is prowling. And Dr. Ed, as he's sniffing and thinking, he thinks, oh my gosh, there's something here I want to see, that kind of thing. His crouching down on the ground behavior, that kind of thing. This is pretty typical of a dog investigating.
Well, sure, that's where the smells are going to be. He's trying to get as much, he can tell so much information from his sense of smell. I mean, who has been there, what has been there, how long ago. Their sense of smell is so sensitive. They can get so much information. That's how they tell what's going on in the world.
And now here we've got I just happened to be filming on my phone one day as Radar realized that there was a rabbit somewhere near. And you're going to notice very quickly he's on the scent, but in a few moments here he's actually going to realize it's right there and then begin to see it. He loses the rabbit for a moment. But don't worry, the rabbit will come. Look at the ears. You get that expressiveness there where the sound's directly coming from. And rabbits probably happiest place to dwell in the world would be to have a chance to go to a weekend spa vacation at a rabbit farm if he had the chance to do so. But he definitely likes rabbits for sure. We're going to get a chance to weave more of your questions into the program in just a bit. I'm going to check out my phone. But Dr. Ed, I want to talk about the world of a veterinarian as well, too. So people have an idea about life as a dog when they go to the doctor versus when we go to the doctor. We've got some video we can show from your Hillside Animal Hospital of your x-ray machine and those kinds of things, and talk a little bit about the nature of your medical equipment and how well you're able to read x-rays.
Well, I like to think that our equipment at Hillside Animal Hospital is just as sophisticated as any human hospital. The application, the medicines may be a little different, but it's still the same. We have very high-tech equipment. This is a picture of our digital radiograph machine. We can take digital images of x-rays. No more films. The x-rays pop up on the computer screen within a matter of a few seconds. We can then, they're part of our medical records now. We can send them anywhere in the world we need to if we need a second opinion or if we need to share them with specialists.
And there we're seeing, we're seeing the heart there?
Yeah, that was a picture of a dog's thorax and a picture of its heart.
Very good. And we've also got some video of you guys prepping a dog for surgery. Actually, the operation that you were prepping for was a spaying operation. But you guys are prepping a dog for surgery just as if we're prepping a human. You want to make sure their blood pressure is maintained and everything, right?
Exactly. The procedures are going to be exactly the same. This is a picture of my staff inserting an IV catheter, and the dog's going to be getting IV fluids. I just had the experience that I just underwent surgery just a little while ago, and it was different being on the other side of the table and being a patient, but I had a great experience. It went well. The dog now has been anesthetized and is being wheeled into the surgery room, and
that esophageal, I'll learn to speak here in a minute. Going down the esophagus, that tube that goes down the esophagus helps you keep aware of their heartbeat and stuff?
Yes, that sensor will go down their esophagus and will lay down right next to their heart, and it will capture the EKG. We're also monitoring their blood pressure, pulse oximetry, which is a measure of the oxygen, and also the amount of CO2 that they breathe out. And you can see it all. We have it all on the monitor right above. So myself and the veterinary technician monitoring the anesthesia can monitor it.
Wow. Now, we got an email question that came in, and don't forget, you can send them to us at live@hectv.org that dealt with dogs in pain. I'm assuming they feel pain in the exact same way we do. They just can't necessarily tell us as much.
Yeah, we try to be aware of certain clues, you know. Of course, panting can be a sign of pain. It can also be a sign of other things, but panting and just depression. So we are very, very aware of pain, and we do a really good job of pain management before, during, and after the surgeries.
Very good.
Big part of it, healing.
Big part of healing. Let's go to student questions again. Cornersville, Tennessee, I'm going to go back to you guys. Do you have a final question or two you'd like to ask Dr. Red or Radar?
Yes, Casey. Can you work on any animal like cows or horses?
Cool question.
I love that question, and yes, we have a saying on veterinarians, we love to ask the MDs, how many species can you treat? Because as a veterinarian, I can legally work on any species that I want to, any animal species. Of course, my practice is limited to dogs and cats. There are large animal veterinarians, there are horse veterinarians and bird veterinarians and reptile and zoo vets, you know, so we do specialize. But yes, we have, during the course of my education, I have worked on a lot of different species. And every once in a while, at Hillside, something strange will walk through the door, and I'm still able to work on them if I can.
Very good. Cornersville, we'll go back to you guys for the final question of the program. Take it away, Tennessee.
Do you have to be good at math to be a vet?
Yes, you do. You think about the drug dosages. You have to know the drug dosages, and you have to be able to figure them out based on the weight of the animal. So yes, it is important that you do have to be good at math.
So that math thing that you may not want to do now will help you not just to do all sorts of things, but to indeed help you to be a veterinarian. Dr. Ed, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're very welcome, Tim. I really enjoyed it.
If you guys watch the web archive of the program, which is going to go up in just about a week, you'll see some additional footage from Dr. Ed's clinic where we talk about how to read an x-ray, see some more about surgery preparations and a variety of other things, plus some additional resource related to the world of radar that we didn't have a chance to talk about in our 30 minutes together here today. But we thought we'd end with just some questions that were directed specifically to radar. One of the most interesting, of course, was what does radar do when his owner's not at home? And while I like to think that most of the time is just spent sleeping where he's supposed to be, I have noticed coming home a few times and Radar's been sleeping in the chairs he's not supposed to be sleeping in. Here's Radar in the recliner, which technically speaking he's not supposed to enjoy. And every once in a while he's noticed that the laundry piles look like a good thing to spend some time in. He does like to burrow. Whether it's a pile of grass or a pile of laundry, he does love to do that. And he's a big reader. So every once in a while he'll open up a little book to see what's going there as well. And this, of course, may have been the most surprising thing when we caught him driving a vehicle. He loves to ride in the car, but every once in a while we've noticed that when we come back from the store, he thinks he's going to be able to drive on the way home as well. And that hasn't happened yet. He's got a couple of toys that he's really in love with that he plays with, but most of his time is just laying around, enjoying a dog's life and sleeping as much as he possibly can. When they say a dog's life, it's actually a pretty darn good thing, I'd say, Dr. Ed, if you get the chance to lead a dog's life. Our thanks again to Dr. Ed and Hillside Animal Hospital. You can learn more about them. We've got a link to their website on our webpage. We look forward to your involvement in our future programs of Explore. This web archive is going to be just up in a week or so send your friends there to find out about what it's like to live the world through the perspective of a dog. Bye, everybody.